Anyway, let's get it rolling, okay? Because I've been replaying and playing around with sound effects and stuff for the past half hour, but it's time to do that thing.
The Ochelli Effect is sponsored by WallStreetWindow.com and listeners like you.
And now, the most underrated voice in all media, Chuck Ochelli.
And it is the 26th day of April 2024, allegedly, according to that thing called a calendar that we call a calendar. This, the Ochelli Effect, you hearing us live if you are just catching us slightly after 8 p.m. Eastern Time in what we used to call America, okay? So there it is, and you can be part of this show. My co-host B Pete is with me, but you could be with me too. 319-527-5016. That is the live number to call. You can join us and talk about anything, as made an example of based on the replay that I was screwing around with right before we went live here tonight. You can talk about anything. I mean, what did we cover? OJ and God knows what. I don't know. I was hardly listening to it. I was trying to talk to B. Pete about something. I asked him about a campaign commercial, and I think I'm going to recreate that conversation right now because it's a good one to have. And meanwhile, when you call in, you can bring up anything you want to. We will be live all the way to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. When the age of transitions begins, I don't know if Aaron is taking calls tonight or not. I guess I'll find out when he joins us. 319-527-5016 is the number to call, at least all the way up to 10 p.m. Then Aaron and Uncle will be live. They've been away the past couple of weeks, and I guess we'll find out why on the show. I think it had something to do with a soccer game, kids, this and that. Hey, sometimes life gets in the way when you got to do a show. Speaking of life getting in the way, I got to tell you, I'm very discouraged by the news signals and other things that I'm getting this week. Look, it's very simple. If I can't afford to do this anymore, I can't afford to do this anymore. Support has fallen off. Sponsorship may not remain with me. Steady supporters are going away. And it's not based on content. They're not pissed off at me that I can tell. I mean, all those people abandoned me a couple of years ago. You know, they got mad at me starting in 2017. People started to abandon me because of my alleged points of view. Some people thought I was a liberal. Some people thought I was a crazy, radical right-winger, believe it or not. And it just depends on what they selectively decided to get outraged about that I was covering on the show. I got a lot of more JFK stuff to cover. I got a lot of more political conspiracy. Got a lot of more news when it's not just a depressing slog like it's been for the past couple of weeks in the news cycle. Been garbage to my estimation. Also a little surprise for some people, I guarantee you, is that the more that they show me this nonsense that Trump is falling asleep over in New York, and as I look at the alleged evidence and the alleged charges and everything else against him, here's the funny part. I'm feeling more and more like this has to be nothing more than a throne fight. I mean, how else do you look? If you go after somebody with a charge that you know won't stick, and you insist on taking them to court, and you insist on wasting everybody's time and resources, clogging up the streets, and making sure that somebody can show up. Well, but Chuck, they're keeping him from campaigning. It's a constant campaign commercial for this guy. He's on TV 24/7, and people are watching him fall asleep, and they're interviewing the courtroom guys who are making sketches of Trump falling asleep in the courtroom because they got nothing else to talk about on the alleged news. Garbage. Nothing. What do you want to do? Oh, well, anyway, I'm getting campaign commercials because I use the free versions of things, so I get stuck with them like on YouTube. And I'll tell you the most recent one, which is amusing. A guy almost sounds like me is being called by somebody from the Biden call center on this political commercial because we're already starting with the presidential selection commercials. I guess it's about on time. We're halfway through April, right? It's past what used to be tax day. So I guess it's time to evaluate who you're going to, throw your vow down for in the BS thing they call an election in November, right? I mean, it's time to make the big decision. Which old white guy do you want to stick in there? Probably not the one that you're going to blame for making you go broke over the past couple of years, because I don't know anybody who isn't going broke. But anyway, yeah, allegedly this woman calling from a Biden call center, hey, you're going to vote for Biden again, right? He's making things great for illegal immigrants. the lady supporting him says this, blatantly, bluntly. The guy on the other end, sounding a lot like he might be from a different part of Jersey than me, but still, says, you know what, I voted for Biden last time, and I ain't doing it this time. I'm voting for Trump. And it's a Trump campaign commercial run by some PAC, we're here to save America Incorporated or whatever the hell PAC, super PAC, I don't know. Didn't pay attention to it that much because I'm just stuck with the repetitive nature of this thing. And because I've seen it so many times, I'm now numb. But either way, I'm getting stuck with that. And that's the only realistic campaign commercial that's probably going to be out there all the next year. Anyway, weenie dogs are barking. All that stuff is happening. And again, I invite you. Join me. 319-527-5016. That's the number to call to get in on the show. Do it nice and slow for you. 319-527-5016. Get on the line. I'll get you on the show at least once, and you can bring up anything you want or reach out to me, Charles.Ochelli on Skype. I'll be more than happy to call you into the show through Skype. See, I call you if you send me a message telling me you want to be part of the show on Skype. But otherwise, you can just dial a phone from wherever you have a phone that works, okay? If you still have a phone that works, because, again, everybody's broke. A lot of people not able to pay their bills, and not everybody grabbed an Obama phone, right? So anyway, it is what it is. You can join us, and now I'd like to shut up, take a few breaths, try not to breathe on the microphone too much, and turn it over to my co-host, B Pete, and find out what's on his mind, or if he wants to comment about the campaign commercial or whatever, until you guys start disrupting us, calling in, and really shaping the conversation. But otherwise, I can just sit here and talk to B Pete. B Pete, you're not at work this week, so welcome back to not being from parts unknown, but how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. I was able to catch up on some much-needed sleep today after this past 3 weeks of work. It's funny. It's this first spring where it's been this busy, trying to transition from what you do in the wintertime on a construction site to what you do in the summertime. But other than that, we're doing pretty good, enjoying beautiful southern weather. Enough to get out and spend the next 2 days working in the yard, work out some kinks, try to shed a little bit of weight, and mow my grass. But other than that, everything's looking pretty good. No, we had talked earlier about these campaign ads, and I tried to avoid them at all costs. Nothing ticks me off more than in the early morning. I'll be sitting here going, reading the news and all that before I go into work. It's 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And that's when they run all the PSAs that they don't want to run during prime time because people are willing to pay more money for the commercial time. So you get the same political ad every commercial break for an hour and a half. It's ridiculous. So now that our primaries, we've got, in this state, we've got 2 districts, I think, that are having primary runoffs, because nobody won a clear majority in the primary. So we've got a bunch of Republicans involved. A couple carpetbaggers have moved down to this state from another state after their long employment in D.C. was over and figure they can buy themselves a seat somewhere. So for some reason, we're notorious for that. People coming in and carpetbagging.
Were they
kind of like Hillary up in New York.
Okay,
when she won her Senate slot.
I just have a question. Were your carpetbaggers originally from North Carolina or?
No. These aren't people that came back after being gone for years. These are people that were living in, outside of D.C. and Virginia as contractors for years and then decide to move to a district where it's cheaper than Virginia and the people might not be as sophisticated as they are around D.C. and Virginia. And, they say the right keywords when it comes primary time, and suddenly they're the world's best conservative. They fight for this and fight for that, and it's the same old story.
Okay, so
but they just have a tendency to drift here because they think they can win on the Republican side of things. The Democrats are entrenched so deep that an outsider really can't come in and pull a district out from somebody that's been living here their whole life. But it's easy on the Republican side.
Well, the other thing is, look, at this point, if you have a fresh name in a Republican slot, they couldn't have possibly already screwed things up. So it's a fresh name, and if they've got the right phrases, they can look more legitimate than maybe somebody who has been a career politician. Because somebody who was successful 10 years ago is not saying exactly the same thing from 10 years ago now, right? So they wouldn't be consistent to what the 10 years ago conservative was. And again, the financial consideration, the migration due to the financial situation, if you will. I mean, really, literally, the reason why I moved south is that I couldn't afford to live up north anymore. Maybe they did it for that reason. I mean, they're not making the same, ends trying to meet the ends decision that I am, but they're saying to themselves, hey, how can I make my $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 a year go further, right? Is I can live in North Carolina. I could buy a whole house in a year with my paycheck. Why don't I go down there? But haven't prices gone up in North Carolina in the past couple of years, or is that my imagination, or is it just drifting along with everybody else and the inflation migration?
Prices are going up. I mean, housing prices here through the roof. Rent has gone up just like everywhere since COVID. It's just cheaper. You make your big money working in D.C. as a government contractor, and then you take your millions when you sell the business that they help you set up back to a bunch of other government contractors, and then come down here to, make North Carolina better. It's amazing. We've got this Lori book out that's running, I think it's First District, not sure, contractor for years in D.C. after being in the military, and she sells a business that they help set up for operations over in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah, take a pause. BP, take a pause. BP.
Touts her conservative.
Yeah, take a pause for a minute. Take a pause for a minute because you're going robotic. Mute yourself for a minute, and let's see if we can't build up your compression because you're breaking up. And I'll ask you a couple of questions, and I'll do it slow so it gives it time to build up your compression, and maybe you'll sound better in a moment. Because I want to be clear about this. In my mind, I'm thinking that some of these people might be on the semi-retirement kind of, realistically, they could probably live off of whatever it is they're selling off that you're talking about there. I imagine you're saying there was an insider DC business that they probably, basically gained because of their great access because they were living up there. And then they take it down south. Now, they've taken their nest egg money because they offload whatever little business or business concern they had, and they go down there. Now, some people were going from up north and semi-retiring, not politicians and not political people, but, various types of people about 20 years ago or so. It was popular to go to South Carolina more often, but North Carolina as well, from, say, the tri-state area or from Pennsylvania or even better spots in Ohio, stuff like that. And they would go down and semi-retire so that, realistically they had enough money to live on, but now they could go out and run for office or do whatever, and they're not pressured with the I need a paycheck every week or every month because they've got a nest egg. And I'm wondering if it's that kind of thing that then they turn around and set up politically, or is it primarily a political stratagem where they know they're going to make money somehow. So either they're going to get in office, or they're going to be part of somebody's crew, or they're going to be appointed lieutenant governor or something like this and become, part of the system, and they've already got an inside track. So is it more about the inside track for the politics, or is it about the, I can semi-retire because I have a nest egg? Which one of these types of people are you talking about that are migrating? And again, go back over this politician. I think it was a lady's name. You said it was a little broken, a little robotic. And tell us about her again. But please, which one of these two things is it, B Pete?
Well, it's a combination. One, it's cheaper to live here. You get somebody who's living outside of D.C. in Virginia, they're paying through the nose. I don't care whether they're renting, whether they're buying. It's just expensive to live there. You have more, I think what was it I read, more millionaires in the D.C. area than in anywhere else in the United States, the surrounding area of D.C. and Maryland, Virginia. But they come down here because it's cheap, and it's cheap to run for politics. You find a district where they've had people that have been fighting for seats 3 or 4 elections, worst candidates in the world, normal everyday people who think now they can go to Washington and solve problems because they're conservative, they're a fighter, the keywords. And you move down here, you pay taxes here as a homeowner for 2 years, and then suddenly you're going to make things better for North Carolina. You don't know a damn thing about North Carolina. You're not lived here.
Right.
You've only been here 2 years, and most of your time is spent back up in Virginia in your other house. That kind of thing. They come down here to buy acreage. I've got a mini farm. I'm a farmer now. I bought 80 acres last July, and now I've got a couple pear trees. I'm a farmer. Oh, it's a charade more than anything.
Well, some of those guys,
straight up carpetbaggers.
Yeah, some of those guys down there, Wait a minute, I'm muted. All right, some of these guys specifically down there had hog farms, and were doing like a leasing thing with hog farms for a bit, where they weren't actually doing the work, but they could say that they owned a hog farm, and meanwhile somebody else was leasing the land. I know that was going on about 10 years ago when I was there, and I don't know if that's still a thing. Is that still a thing with the hog farms?
Well, no, we've got industrial hog farms now, like Smithfield Foods and companies like that have these mega farms where, they might have 300 hog houses in a certain area, and they've cornered the market. It's like Tyson and chicken houses, or Butterball and turkey houses. It's all become pretty industrialized at this point. No, these are people that come down and buy 80 to 120 acres, of farmland, and they've, retired. They've got their money. They're invested heavily in their stocks. They can live off their salary, and now they want to come down and give to the community.
So it's a little
okay. How about giving up some of that money that you got out of the community?
Okay, so it's a little combination of the two things that I described, where you got the nest egg guy who's going down there and can retire, but is going to do something extra, and somebody who has got a political strategy in hand, and that's their primary motivation. It's actually a little bit of both, is what you're telling me, that is emerging.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're running for a Senate seat in the state of North Carolina and you haven't lived here more than 2.5 years, I can go down the road. You don't know a damn thing about this place or what this state needs. Just shut up and go back and being retired, or go back to Virginia where you lived for the past 35, 40 years and try to run up there. Okay, but don't come down here with your with your D.C. politics and claim to be a Republican when you were working for Bill Clinton 30 years ago before you went in the military. That kind of thing.
Well, the opposite argument.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, the opposite argument, though, just as, and I'm just positing this, not even trying to argue with you, but the opposite argument could be, if the people that are in politics there are so bad that they could be easily replaced by a carpetbagger, maybe the carpetbagger will do a better job just by default, I mean, it's sort of like when you run against a dead guy and you just barely beat him. I mean, at the very least, they have a live candidate that can go into the office. It's not, granted, it's a low bar, but I mean, is it a low bar situation where you have politicians who have screwed things up so bad that really anything would be better, or is it just them trying to take advantage of it because it's more economical to run there?
Well, it's more economical to run here, but once you get elected here, whether it's for a state office or federal office, you're pretty much the incumbent from then on, and you're there. I mean, you really got to have an upstart come and kick you out if you're an incumbent from this state. And the only reason this person wants to run is so they can get into Washington and start making their stock deals off insider information and get richer. They don't give a damn about North Carolina. They haven't lived here. They know nothing about this place. My daddy was a conservative farmer and he was in World War II. I don't give a damn what your daddy did 65 years ago. I don't care how conservative he was. Your daddy wasn't living here. He was living in another state. You're not even from here. So, I really don't give a damn what your daddy did. That's not who you are. But if you're running on your daddy's history, well, then go back to wherever the hell he's from and run there. People know him. We don't know a damn thing about you. We don't know who your daddy was. Basically, most of us don't give a damn.
Right.
It's just crazy. It's a stepping stone to an inside information trading racket that's been going on in the Congress and the Senate for years now. And until we start putting stop to it, until we start banning insider trading for our politicians, that's what people run for. You get that golden ticket. It's like, it's like winning the golden ticket for Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Once you get in the door, it's amazing what you can do with the info that you've got. Nancy Pelosi's gotten, millions off of it.
Oh, of course.
They want to do the same thing. Nobody gives a damn about the people that elect them anymore. They go up there with an agenda in mind. I'm going to get rich, get mine, and get the hell out.
Well, and if it's not them, then they stick their spouse in there. I mean, look, Mitch McConnell, I don't even know what his wife does all the way around. I know, she's been involved in different things, and he just kind of goes, I don't know what she's doing.
Mitch McConnell's wife is involved. She's connected with some high-dollar Chinese company that I think has direct connections back to communist rulers in China. I mean, that's another thing. There was an investigation not long ago. His wife's sister died mysteriously. Nobody put in the news that she died at one of Mitch McConnell's homes mysteriously. And she is heavily connected to the communist Chinese, and Kentucky's been running Mitch McConnell now for how many years?
No, I got you. And here's the fun part about that. I mean, like, for people that might say, oh, that's racist, you're picking on her because she's Chinese. Here's the problem. If there's any sort of significant business being done by a Chinese company, it is a certainty that the communist government is involved. On the one hand, they have, a capitalist kind of pseudo-capitalist situation going on. But on the other hand, everything of significance has a hand of the government in it as well. It's like a blended system.
How do we know that Mitch McConnell hasn't been saying things to his wife that end up going straight back to China? We don't know. They're worried about the influence of China on Biden right now. What is it on Mitch McConnell? Has anybody ever looked at that? Yeah, he's a Republican, and I'm sorry if you conservatives out there think we're picking on, a stellar guy, but there's no career politician that's been in there as long as Mitch McConnell that's stellar. No way. Even the short run guys. Look, MAGA Mike or whatever, right? The Speaker of the House this week.
I was wondering what your take was on, because I think it was after we did the show last Friday, right? Not only did the guy die who lit himself on fire outside the Trump trial, which still, by the way, I still don't have anybody adequately explaining to me what his point was, right? Wait. I'm sorry. You cut out there. Which trial now? What are we talking about? The Trump trial. Last week we talked about the guy lighting himself on fire outside of the Trump trial. Yeah. Anyway, so that guy died. Remember we were talking about, well, he really didn't, Yeah, it was right after the show they announced he passed away. Right. So, but here's the thing. I still don't have an adequate explanation, even though his, and I talked to Mike Swanson about this last night. I put out the podcast a little while ago, earlier today, but, the thing is, I'm like, I didn't get an idea about this. And Swanson just said, well, clearly he was mentally ill. That's the answer. And I'm like, okay, maybe. But he was pretty coherent up to the point of explaining to me why he had to do it right then and there. Anyway, put that aside. This week also, we had big packages, right, for foreign aid going out. And I think people in Ukraine were sort of happy, but now there's some pushback against that. There was foreign aid going to Israel. There was foreign aid going out in pretty big packages, and people are a little bit pissed, apparently. Except Trump except Trump is still supporting his Speaker of the House guy that he liked to start with, as far as we know, when he's not falling asleep at his trial. But anyway, I find that funny. That, look, old guys fall asleep in the middle of the day. It just happens. I mean, hell, I'm not that old. I want to go to sleep in the middle of the day. I'm going to tell you what, if I was sitting there, I'd be snoring. This has got to be, to have to boring sit there as hell and listen to this bull crap. Yeah, it's going to put you to sleep. Well, that's the other thing, is the more I look at these alleged charges, I'm saying to myself, like, these prosecutors are losing on purpose. Because nobody in their right mind would objectively bother with it. Sure, there are some fines you could issue, and you can't just keep filing false paperwork, because otherwise, everybody can do that, and nobody earns any money, and then no taxes get collected, and I get all that. But I mean, wait a minute now. Let's cut the case down to exactly what it is. Alvin Bragg took a misdemeanor that had expired. Statute of limitations on the bookkeeping entries for that deal had expired. What he did, though, was bootstrapped it to a federal election law about campaign contributions. Now, the lawyer who handled all this, he went to jail over this, okay?
He did the deal. He wrote up the paperwork.
You talking about Avenatti?
Alvin Bragg connected a misdemeanor that was past the statutes of limitations to a federal elections campaign that the Department of Justice looked at and said, no, we are not going to prosecute this.
Okay, are you talking about Avenatti? Are you talking about Avenatti with the lawyer who went to jail? That guy with the Stormy Daniels? Okay, because, all right, just slow down a second.
But
because
here's the deal,
Stormy Daniels
he has taken a law that he couldn't prosecute, strapped it to a federal election law that he has no jurisdiction over to make it a felony, and then he backdoors in. It's all cyclical thinking. He did this connected to that, and because it's that, it's a felony, so now we can go and we can do this.
Yeah, but even if you take these charges seriously, separately, you put them in the right jurisdiction and everything else, it's still nothing. It's next to nothing. Like I said, it's worthy of a couple of fines.
There's no crime involved here.
Well, no, it's worthy of a couple of fines. If you're falsely identifying money going somewhere else.
No. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
The person who actually did the deal went to jail and paid the fines for an illegal campaign contribution.
You're talking about Cohen.
It's already been decided. Trump didn't do it. Trump has not broken any law.
Okay.
And what brought this all to a head was back when Stormy Daniels decided to sue Trump over an NDA that wasn't in effect. It was not. Trump never signed a non-disclosure agreement with her. This was all done by lawyers. And Trump said, no, I'm not going to sign it. Forget it. What ended up happening was Avenatti paid her $130,000 October before the election to shut up. She thought she was under an NDA. Like a fool, she had a lawyer talk her into suing Trump to nullify the NDA. And when it came out when the stuff was presented to the court, it was found out Trump never signed it. It was never in effect. It's just words on a piece of paper. It's not an NDA. It's not binding. It's not legal. And the case was dropped.
Okay. So,
because it was moot. The NDA was not in effect. Stormy Daniels shot herself in the foot on this one. And now she's quite possibly I don't know, have they shot whether or not.
Well, these are the points.
This up
on
her own.
These are the points of defense to defend Trump, and I get it. But look, ultimately, he's still responsible
No, I'm not defending Trump. I'm not defending Trump. I'm defending the system where a DA can take a misdemeanor that is no longer triable. It's no longer prosecutable, and hooking it to another law that he has no jurisdiction over to enforce, and then bringing it into a felony court. I'm defending the system. The system failed on this one.
Okay.
This thing should be tossed in the next week.
Well, the system is a complete failure because it's nonsensical. All the stuff that you're talking about is just nonsense the way it was assembled. But let's just imagine for a moment that in the legal society, in the legalese, that this is, pliable. All right. Ultimately, you can't just dish off all responsibility. If you're ultimately signing off on certain things in organizations, you can't dish off all responsibilities to the accountants and the lawyers and the bankers because you have to approve things at a certain point. And Trump had to have approved certain things at certain points in time. Now, I don't want to get into the particulars of it because at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter how they assembled this because it's all, even if you took it and said it was legitimate up to this point, it was legitimate up to that point, the charges, even if you cleared away all the stuff that you said where he's bootstrapping and he's going into this and it's not his yours, let's just say all of that was done properly and you and I just don't understand it because we're not lawyers. Let's just go with that for a moment. Here's the thing. Ultimately, even if he is responsible for this stuff, even if you could lay it at his feet that he conspired with his underlings to do all these things, it's still nothing more than something that you would assign a fine to. And that's it. It's not even beyond that. Even if he took campaign money and paid her, let's just say he did that. Now, that's not what he's supposed to do with that money. But then again, you could argue that this would be, in furtherance of his campaign, however, blah, blah. Okay, I don't even want to go there. Let's just say that this was something where he did step over a line legally. Even if you gave them that, it's still nothing more than something you need to do a fine for. This thing is designed to fall apart, because if they convict him on this, then it should automatically get tossed on appeal, because it's going to make no sense, not only from the procedural point of view you were talking about, but again, even if you assumed that culpability could be applied to him on every single level, it still doesn't rise to anything more than maybe some misdemeanors, some violations of some, various things that might not even be criminal acts, that are just, parts of policy connected to campaign, regulations. Okay, because violating a regulation is not the same as violating a law. All right? So even if you go to the ultimate conclusion here, this whole thing is designed to fall apart if you look at it objectively. There's no other way to look at this in my mind, except that it's just going to fall apart. So ultimately, other people would say, okay, yeah, you're right. But here's the thing. They're just trying to keep him from campaigning. And that's what the whole point of this is. That's why they're making him go to court every day.
I think there's a little more to it. I don't think this was designed to fall apart. I think this was a partisan attack that was designed to do exactly what it's doing, keeping him tied up in court. Look at the
well, then they're morons, because it's going to accomplish nothing.
Well, look at the civil assault, the sexual assault trial with what's her name, the lady that sued him for
E. Jean Carroll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. In that case, you look at the court system on how that worked. He was found guilty. Now, she accused him of rape in a store. She can't tell you what year it was. She knew she was wearing a certain dress that apparently hadn't even been designed when this took place. And he was found guilty. I mean, that's how screwed up this system is. Somebody offered no evidence whatsoever except to say in such and such, and I think it was between this year and that year, I'm not sure, this man came in a dressing room and he raped me. Well, they found him guilty of, and I'm still don't understand this part. They found him guilty of sexual assault, but not of rape. They specifically said, no, he did not rape her. So how he could be found civilly liable for this? Oh, and by the way, the law that this was done under was a direct result of the Me Too movement, when New York decided, okay, we're going to take down the statute of limitations on stuff that happened 30 years ago. And we're going to now let, for the next limited time, so hurry to your lawyer's office, we're going to let you file charges against somebody, and we'll see what happens.
Which is why I want to talk about Weinstein when we get the chance to pivot.
Almost $500,000 in fines, for something that the woman had no proof on. That's how screwed up this system is. So when it comes to these cases, especially the ones we're looking at now, Bragg and the one in Georgia, and Jack Smith's stuff about Mar-a-Lago and the documents, okay? All of these were set up to keep him busy in court. I don't think they were designed to fail. I think they were designed to be as convoluted as they could be, to confuse the court, confuse any jury that's going to sit there and look at something to find him guilty of something. The problem is they don't have the law to back them up. Yes, these things are probably going to get dropped on appeals, but that's long after the effect that they're looking for. These things were not designed to fail. If they were, they would have failed before now. They wouldn't wait for appeal. I think they are purposely designed to tie him up as long as possible, make him spend as much money as possible, put his property up at risk, just so they can go after Trump. I've never seen a politician have this many people go after him with daggers, simply because they don't like him.
They're not going after him with daggers. If you go after somebody with a dagger, you go after somebody with something that's sharp that can actually cut him. None of this stuff is going to stick.
I'm not saying that the people going after him are the brightest bulbs in the drawer. I mean, the Democrats in the past 10 years have shown just how stupid they can be. And they're getting worse.
It's
They're getting
beyond
blatant.
stupid.
They don't care about whether they're right or wrong. They have a point to make, and they're going to push to the front, and they're going to do it just as haphazardly as they can because they think they've got the people behind them to do it.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree that they do in certain areas, especially the state of New York.
Well, that's why I'd rather pivot to talking about, because you want to talk about the Me Too thing and all that. Harvey Weinstein now, they just got done dropping exactly what, I knew they would do, is dump the cases in New York. Now, he's still sitting in jail because of the Los Angeles thing. But, basically the whole New York case collapsed. The big thing that was the big media spectacle has now collapsed. It's gone. So, he's sitting in there for the other half of where they went after him in L.A. And that's what's going to happen to Trump here. All this stuff, no matter what they convict him for, fine him for, all that stuff, it's just going to, on appeal, gone. It's all going to collapse and ultimately amount to nothing, except that he's going to be in the media cycle all this time, concentrating on everything he does, everything he says. Today he was out there complaining it was too cold in the courtroom. Whatever. Doesn't matter. He farted during proceedings, maybe. That'll be the next thing. It'll be all right. Anyway, we have one caller on the line. Again, I want to remind people you can come on, change this topic if you like. Go into any direction you want. 319-527-5016. That's the number to call. Or send me a message on Skype, and I'll be more than happy to add you into the show. And I want to take at least this caller and then maybe go to a break, because my head hurts already from this. I hate covering this. This is depressing, pointless, and a gigantic waste of everybody's time in my mind. There is nothing that's going to stick. It makes no sense, and all it's doing is putting him in the 24-hour media cycle again. That's the ultimate accomplishment in my mind. Gives him something to bitch about. He's now a martyr. The system's coming after me. Woe is me. And, what's next? Oh, Giuliani's being gone after again, by the way. But, pay no attention to that, and pay no attention to anything else that's really legitimately going on in the world, because we got nonsense that's going to amount to nothing for you to cover. And that's what it is. I mean, literally, they're interviewing the people that are doing courtroom sketches of Trump. What did his eyes look like? Tell us about it. Anyway, I'm sure that Jimmy James will have something to say about it, and I've got him on the line. Although your phone's crackling there, Jimmy. Anyways, go ahead, man. What is on your mind? Throw it on the table. Go ahead.
Okay. Do I sound any better now, by any chance?
No, there's some kind of static crackling, but go ahead and make your point.
All right. Well, on Trump, I disagree with both of you. What they're doing is trying to get a Democrat jury to convict, to say guilty on anything, so they can try to reject the election results in November.
So it's all about illegitimate, making the selection results illegitimate in November after he wins?
That's what they're going to try to say, and the Democrats are going to refuse to acknowledge Trump as president. This is what they've been writing, conspiring about. I guess they had a big call the other day. Kind of odd. All the news networks were involved, the government. Just having a big powwow,
Yeah, you heard about it.
And other than that, on the old Trump... Huh?
I was saying you heard about that conference call, did you?
Yeah, the big powwow. Did you read about that?
I actually did. I wasn't sure about the sourcing, though, because it only was in two places source-wise, and it was a little unclear, but I believe it. I believe that happened. A big old conference call happened. Go ahead.
Yeah. And let's see. So the conference call. There's something else I wanted to say about
which I agree with you. They're going to try and utilize it. Any convictions that come out of any of this crap is exactly what they're going to say. See, he's actually a criminal and he's illegitimate after he wins, because he's winning in November. I'm certain of that. And they're going to say, oh, well, he didn't really win. He's not my president. That crap again is what'll happen. Yeah, I agree with you. That'll happen. Now, is it going to amount to anything in real world terms? No. But it'll be their bitch and cry for the next 4 years, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So what else? What else you want to add? Go ahead.
Oh, I know what I wanted to mention about old Trump. Do you ever listen to Bill Maher?
Occasionally, yeah. Why? Which thing did you catch recently?
Did you listen to the episode where he interviewed Katie Couric?
I don't think I caught Katie Couric. No, is that a recent one or is that an older one?
It's about 2 weeks old. It's on his other program, his podcast. He's got a strictly podcast called Club Random.
Yes, Club Random is his...
He just interviews people.
Right, he's got his Club Random podcast where he smokes a little weed and then talks to one person, and then he's got Real Time, which is his HBO show, which also has a segment that airs on CNN now. Yes. Mm-hmm.
What he calls his real job.
Right. When he's not doing comedy clubs and his podcast. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Not the podcast. He calls the HBO, because he's pretty much been doing the same thing for 28 years, even when it's politically incorrect.
Right. No, I was saying that's when he's not doing his podcast or his stand-up. Then he's doing his real job, which is his HBO show now. And like you said, started out as politically incorrect when he was on ABC, right?
Yeah, started out ABC.
So what did he say to Katie Couric recently? Because I missed it.
What's that?
What did he say to Katie Couric recently that you were mentioning here?
Well, I just think it's interesting. I want you to listen to that podcast. It's less than an hour long. And I want you to hear what the things they say about Trump. Both of them agree that Trump's a big problem because he's, quote-unquote, against the system. He's causing problems with the system. Mm-hmm. I find that part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember word for word how they put it, but they said exactly what I've been trying to tell you.
Well, I have a...
No.
Yeah, I have
Trump does not like Donald Trump, and yes, they are trying to destroy him, and yes, the system does not like him, and there's two people that will know because they are the system.
Okay, well, you know what? I have a clip of Katie Couric and Bill Maher talking about how to beat him. Would that be the section you're talking about?
What was the clip called?
It says Bill Maher on how to beat him with Katie Couric.
Well, it's the same conversation. I have no idea if what I wanted you to hear is in it.
All right, well, let's try and play that real quick. I'm going to put you on hold, though. The crackling is pretty heavy, JJ. It's a pretty nasty crackling noise. But I'm going to put you on hold, and I'll try and play this clip and then see if this is what you were trying to get to and see what B Pete wants to say about it. But apparently Bill Maher and Katie Couric talking about how to beat him. I assume that's Trump, so let's see.
The way you deal with Trump is this. Okay, remember the town hall he had on CNN about 6 months ago, and the audience loved it. The audience loved it. I mean, you can hate it.
It was stacked with Trump supporters.
Well, they said Republicans and independents. That's what they said. Okay, maybe it was. How'd they get in? If they did, that's on CNN.
I agree. I think it is on CNN, and the vetting process was...
Well, then you got to get a better audience person.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the person who handed the gun to Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
You know, got to get good people in all these positions.
I agree.
Okay, so if that was about whatever, even if it was, here's what happened. Here's what people saw in America. They saw Trump killing it with the crowd. Then you come to a panel of 6 people who all just do nothing but dump on him and call him a liar. And America goes, oh, didn't you just see that we like him? And
He's
now
not a stand-up comedian.
What?
He's killing it. He's not a stand-up comedian.
No, but popularity doesn't matter. The people loved him and what he was saying. And then you cut to a panel of 6 know-it-alls in Washington who just do nothing but talk about the negative. And like I'm all in on the negative. No one's been harder on Trump than me. But I get it, and I'm bored with it. And there's a different way to do this, I think, which
what is it?
Is not to defend Trump, but to defend the people who still vote for him, because what they see on the other side, to them, is even more dangerous.
See, what's funny about this to me is that he's dancing all around what it is that I'm saying. He's mad at CNN that they let the wrong people in to support Trump there at the Trump town hall. Well, no kidding. That's what you do. It's going to rise the ratings. Look, the anti-hero guy, right? The guy who's working against the system. It works great as a TV show. It does. Bill Maher recognizes that. He's mad that Trump is being made to look good because the talking heads go on there and tear him down, and they're clearly the elitist, idiot talking heads. The same people that are going to tear him down are going to, it's like watching the wrestling match. You're the ultimate bad guy here in the WWE, Mean Gene, I'll tell you, and I got to go get him because he's the big bad guy, and it's about at that level, to my mind. So I think Bill Maher is explaining, by the way, this clip is about 4 minutes long or more. I don't know if this is all of what Jimmy James was trying to get at, but let me check with him if he's still on the line and see if this is the segment that he was thinking of. Jimmy, is this the segment you were thinking of?
What's the interview? But I haven't heard the parts that. Please keep playing it, because I think they are going to get to the stuff that I found interesting.
Cool. I'll play some more, but again, I'm going to put you on hold to stop the crackling noise. But I'll play a little more of this, and then B Pete, I think we'll go to a break after this, unless you want to comment on it for a few minutes. But I'm going to play a couple more minutes of this. Is that okay with you? B Pete? Oh, I might have lost B Pete. I didn't think I did. He's still there.
No, I was on mute.
Oh, there you are.
I was on mute.
You mind if I play a couple more minutes of this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's take a listen and see what else he's got to say.
It's just a few more minutes. Just listen to the whole thing, and then we'll collect afterwards.
Okay, cool. Here we go.
Because it's very closer to home. My kid is coming home from school, and he thinks he's a racist. He's 5. What have you been telling him? You know? My son thinks maybe he's not a boy, and maybe that's true. That happens. But, you know, those kind of things are what they say, that's why I'm voting for Trump.
A backlash to the pendulum swinging so far to the left.
Conservative guy once said to me, what you don't get about Trump is we don't like him either. Now, that's not true for all people. There are people who just love his dirty draws, and they are dirty. But lots of people, it's like that. We don't like him, but he's all that stands between us and madness. That's their view.
So
I would like that view presented. That view. Not election deniers, but just try to understand why even the election denying thing is not a deal breaker for these people. And I think they're wrong. But I don't hate them.
So you're saying
they're not stupid.
You're saying it's cultural issues that should be interrogated.
Lots of crazy shit in society that's going on that makes no sense. I talk about it in the opening of the book.
I know. You talk about it on the show all the time.
Yes. The one about I did the whole thing about Mr. Beast. And, you know, Mr. Beast thinks a disability is something that needs to be cured. Yes, it is something that needs to be cured. Things like that. You know, the homeless, keeping them on the street, and, you know, fighting for their right to be instead of just making sure that they have a place to. It's crazy. There's crazy shit every day in the news, and it's always that kind of stuff from the left. And the stuff from the right, of course, is even more dangerous. But we're just talking about talking to people, half the country, that I don't want to hate, and I don't hate. I don't want to hate. In fact, I want to talk to. And I want to get in my audience. And when I do stand up now, I do have a much more mixed audience. I don't know if they're full-on Trumpers, but some of them. And there should be. It's half the country. They're not going to self-deport, right? They're not going
So how do you think, this Ronna McDaniel, I'm curious how you felt about NBC.
Perfect question, exactly. That's the issue right there. Election denier. Not only election denier, a little bit of a meddler. Right?
Also,
wasn't she?
I think she also said that January 6th was sort of
A festival?
Well, fair dialogue. I can't remember. I should get the right.
A Renaissance fair that got out of hand.
she kind of, soft pedaled that whole thing.
Right.
And apparently was very, very difficult to reporters who were just trying to get information. I don't know enough about her, but I know that she did say the election was rigged. And so NBC is in this position. So how do you find someone who represents Trump voters who feel his policy, to your point, his policies may be better than the others in some cultural senses, if that's how they feel? How do you find someone who represents...
with him, it's not even policy, because you can't even talk about policy with Trump because he never really has one. He just says whatever is at the top of his head.
Yeah.
I think the biggest mistake people make about Trump is anyone ever thinking he planned anything. It's all just whatever at the very moment comes to him that will make people nod their head in agreement. If he pulls the statistics and events out of his ass completely. It's just, he doesn't care. They fact check it. He doesn't care. He'll just say whatever it is. The murder rate is about 40% higher than it was. It's not, it's 2%. It just doesn't matter. And he doesn't care. He said that thing to Billy Bush that time when Billy Bush confronted him. And he said, Donald, you keep saying The Apprentice is number one. It's not even close. You just say it, Billy. You just say it. People believe it. That's who we're up against. Hey, thanks for watching the clip.
Okay, so there's the whole clip, all right, of that one. And let me see if that's what Jimmy was referring to real fast. And then we'll let B Pete and you guys take it apart, I guess. Go ahead, Jimmy. Is that the whole clip, or was it another part?
No, sadly, that wasn't like what I was looking for.
Oh, okay. Well, if you could give me a couple of quotes.
The only thing I will point out is I find Katie Couric's little when she's dismissing Bill Barr pretty annoying.
Well, she's an annoying human being anyway. I mean, let's be honest. Right? I always found it funny. South Park did that thing. Remember the crap scale? For the largest poops, they measured it in Courics. Yeah. There you go. I thought that was hilarious, where Bono took the biggest crap ever recorded, right? And it's measured in Courics. Anyway, Jimmy, look, your phone is crackling. Can you hear that crackling too, right? Like B Pete?
Yeah, you know what? I'll just call back. Maybe he'll come in better.
There you go. You give us a call back. Yeah, you give us a call back, Jimmy James, and anybody else who wants to call in. Look, 319-527-5016. Even if your line is crackling, if I can understand what you're saying, or if you got a clip you want played or whatever else you got on your mind, bring it on. 319-527-5016. B Pete, I open it up for your commentary on that clip. Anything you want to say?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a perfect example of two media elites who are basically trying to out-asshat each other. I mean, we've got, say what you want, Bill Maher for years, he made that little quip in there, about comments about policies on the left and even, the more dangerous policies coming from the right. They're just a couple of elites that sit around, think they're better than other people, think they're smarter than other people. And yet, they call Ronna McDaniel, who was hired by NBC after she left the RNC position, as being an election denier and what did he say? Manipulator or something. Anyway, they don't bring up the fact, or they conveniently forget the fact, or they purposely don't mention the fact, or ever bring up that after Bush beat Gore, after Trump won back in 2016, you had congressmen standing up when it came time to certify the election. This is not my president. I mean, Trump had protests, people throwing eggs in his car on his way to his inauguration, So election denier, that's the new key word to throw towards Republicans. Election denier. They automatically are excluded from society because they denied an election. Well, you can go and find 20-minute videos of just clippets of Democrats standing up in Congress saying, this is not my president, we shouldn't take these electors, blah, 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 blah. People may not realize this, but in the course of elections, a federal election in the United States, there are certain procedures to certify the election. And if there are questions about the votes coming from certain states, electors can be denied. And there's a process to do that. Mm-hmm. And if you go through that process, you're not denying an election. You're following the rules to try to get the election straightened out so that the right person is in office. So you can say what you want. These two clowns sit there back and forth agreeing with each other's great commentary on what's going on in this world, and they're both absolutely clueless as to what regular life is all about. They have no idea of what normal people do every day, going out there and busting their hump trying to pay the bills that these two ignore. They ignore the situation that most people live in. The problem is, up until now, you've had politicians come out there, and there are certain things they don't say, and that's on both sides of the aisle. There are certain things that they're not going to say. Trump comes along, and all those people whose voices aren't heard suddenly have a guy come up there that will say anything.
Yep.
He will throw it out there as red meat to the crowd because he knows that's what they're going to respond to. It's all theater. Trump's good at it. You know, they talk about fact-checking. Oh, well, he said that crime was up 40%, you know, when it actually isn't 2%, and the fact-checkers go crazy. But where in the hell are all the fact-checkers from when Trump got elected that are looking at this president now? They all get fired because there's not a single major media source out there that's coming out and blatantly pointing out all of the lies that come out of this president, our current president's mouth on a daily basis. The stuff that comes out of his White House spokesman's mouth on a daily basis. I mean, this is ridiculous. Anybody that puts any kind of credence into anything that Bill Maher or Katie Couric has to say, as far as I'm concerned, cut them off. I don't want to hear a word because they're talking nonsense. If that's who they get behind, if that's who they look to provide the truth to the public, you might as well hang it up. It's just ridiculous. That's the sorry state of affairs that we have to recognize now exists in this country and in our media. Those two are a perfect example of it. Exactly. Two asshats trying to out-asshat each other.
And that's what the major corporate media is paying for and delivering to a waiting audience. Because, you know, they don't produce this crap unless there's an audience for it. And I guess there still is. So there you have it. Anyway, join us in the next segment of the Ochelli Effect Live Open Mic here on a Friday night. We got another hour to go. 319-527.
Ochelli.com.
WallStreetWindow.com. Gold, silver, the stock market. WallStreetWindow.com. Perhaps you're invested deeply. Perhaps you're not in deep enough. Maybe you're thinking about getting started. WallStreetWindow.com. Michael Swanson, the brilliant author of The War State, understood these trends professionally for many years, and now he gives you the benefit of his knowledge. WallStreetWindow.com. Go there now. Go there now. Go there now.
What would I do? Revelation through conversation.
In Denial, Secret Wars with Airstrikes and Tanks by Larry Hancock. Secret wars became a staple of U.S. covert operations and are still happening today. Larry Hancock's book, In Denial, rips the cover off many of them. Using new files, it exposes things about the Bay of Pigs that no one has ever written about before. It shows why it really failed and why the United States did not learn from it. It also shows why other countries today are doing secret operations with more success. This is the book that puts what some want to deny into the light. In Denial, Secret Wars with Airstrikes and Tanks. Larry Hancock. For more information, go to larry-hancock.com. Pick up your copy of In Denial at amazon.com in digital or physical form.
The views expressed by callers, co-hosts, or anyone else who happens to get on the air at Ochelli.com do not necessarily reflect the views of Ochelli.com or Chuck Ochelli, and we are not responsible for any stupidity which might ensue. Thank you.
The War State by Michael Swanson explains the great national transformation that took place and put the Kennedy presidency in the context of the times and reveals never-before published information about the Cuban Missile Crisis. President Kennedy would not have been assassinated if he had been president 200 years ago. His assassination took place in the context of the Cold War and the rise of the national security state. Before World War II, the United States was a continental republic. In the decade that followed, it became an imperial superpower. Generals such as Curtis LeMay not only wanted to invade Cuba, but knew that there were short-range missiles on the island armed with nuclear warheads that they could not destroy because they were on mobile launchers. Their invasion could have led to a third world war, and they wanted to go to war anyway. The War State by Michael Swanson reveals why and will show you what President Kennedy was up against. For more information, thewarstate.com.
Does this world get you down? Are you living your bliss? Tired of therapies that don't offer you any real direction or answers? Did you know that Maria does personal life coaching sessions? Save thousands of therapy dollars and get the direction and answers you need to live an authentic life based on your own personal blueprint for this life. All this typically in just one private session with Maria, not countless hours on a couch. Maria combines her professional experience, life experience, and her heredity intuitive gifts to get you back on track. Email Maria today for an appointment at maria@maria.net. That's MERIA@MERIA.net. Get on with the best life you can possibly have. Check out the other side of this happy, loving, passionate woman at www.mariaheller.com and avail yourself of the best coaching around, all in the privacy of your home via the telephone. Gift yourself with yourself. Make an appointment today. Write Maria@maria.net.
Revelation through conversation.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, I'm interested in the truth about the JFK assassination.
Right. Well, what do you want to know?
Judy Baker's wild claim, Oswald girlfriend, she knew Ruby and Barry, cancer weapons. Really?
I imagine I could claim I have 4 wheels. It doesn't make me a wagon, but okay.
Oswald was on the kill team and trying to prevent the murder of John Kennedy. Come on now. Has a real expert on the JFK assassination looked into her claims?
Go to Amazon.com. Enter Judith Baker in her own words. You'll get results for a digital copy of a book where Walt Brown utilizes her own words and the known evidence in the case to get at, well, a different perspective, let's say. You can get Judith Barry Baker in her own words from the author himself, signed if you request it by contacting Dr. Brown at KIASJFK@AOL.com. It's a fun book and it actually dissects the many, many fantastic claims. Judith Barry Baker in her own words.
Thank you for all the great information.
The Ochelli.com radio network.
Exode from the ashes, reborn chaotically.
Let 'em know. Let 'em know. Let 'em know. Got to let them know. I'm bringing all shock like a Kid Rock, sipping Bud Light at the drag show. I'm bringing all shock like a Kid Rock, sipping Bud Light at the drag show. Erroneous method, the world's worst professional provocateur. Hit them like it's 2000 something and Beck is back on tour. You never really wanted me anyway. Alcohol turns me into your enemy. I'm Yosemite Sam with some Hennessy. I used to think that bottle was the remedy. Picked it up once or twice after I let it go, but finally had to let it be. I used to roll with a fat bitch. She would give me a left tip for some literacy. I mean literally, not figuratively. I mean literally.
Revelation through conversation.
The Ochelli.com radio network.
Get ready for the Ochelli effect.
Okay, second segment of the Ochelli Effect live here on a Friar's Day, a Friday night, and hopefully with you joining us, 319-527-5016. I don't know if we're going to have time for another break until we get to Aaron Franz's show at 10 p.m. Eastern. Anyway, the Age of Transitions will begin live there. I don't know if he's taking calls this week. I guess we'll find out. And we'll find out where he's been the past couple of weeks. I don't think he has a guest planned either, so we're going to get one of those nights with Aaron arguing with himself on the microphone and then the unique experience of Uncle at 11 p.m. Eastern. But until then, we're live, we're loud, and you can join us. 319-527-5016. 319-527-5016, or message me on Skype, Charles.Ochelli, ask me to call you, and I will call you into the show. B Pete. So we did listen to 6 whole minutes of Bill Maher altogether. Okay. I don't know. The same old crap. I'm bored to tears with these people. I really am. And I got no arguments for the way you describe, media elites, people that, have the money to remember, what did he do? Donate $1 million to the Obama campaign, right? Because he was afraid Mitt Romney was going to ruin the country. Supposedly. Yeah. Bill Maher.
Another example of Republican misstep in Mr. Mitt Romney. Biggest waste of protoplasm I've ever seen.
See, now, I don't know. I didn't have as big of an objection to Mitt Romney in general, as some people did. I thought that he was kind of okay, according to most conservatives, up until a couple of years ago. What happened? What went wrong there?
Another carpetbagger.
Another carpetbagger.
He's another carpetbagger.
Okay.
He goes. Mitt Romney's claim to fame was, handling the Olympics. He did such a stellar job handling the Olympics. He was out in Utah at the time. He's been living between two places, Utah and was it Massachusetts?
Okay. Didn't his father have something to do with his success too, though, or am I crazy?
Oh, yeah, he's legacy. I mean, he inherited his money.
Okay.
And that's the thing about Ronna McDaniel. See, that was Mitt Romney's daughter. That's how she got into her position at the RNC. You never heard the Romney part of it.
No, why?
No, Mitt Romney was another, just like, McCain from Arizona, one of those, he's a conservative. No, he's not. Never has been.
Okay.
Just another elite asshat.
Well, look, and I've got objections to elitists. I don't care what political stripe. You know what I'm saying? These people that are completely, and that's why I feel your points on Maher, these people that are totally disconnected from real life. I mean, the people that can get on TV and with a straight face tell you, but our economy's doing great. Who the hell is it doing great? I was asking that question. And look, in fairness, it's not just about Joe Biden, and it's not just about, the great, wonderful economic times of Donald Trump. Screw that. Let's go before that. The giant economic recovery that was supposed to be going on during the majority of both of Obama's terms, okay? Because the crash happens in 2008. Okay, the big real estate market crash. A whole lot of financial pressure on people in 2008. Maybe people's memories are not there. I mean, I know some people are too young. Some of these millennials, I guess, didn't have adult responsibilities at that time. Maybe they don't remember. But when that happened, financial times was tough. And people were talking like, hey, something's got to be done here. And then I kept hearing about the slow-moving economy, the slow-moving recovery from the great crash, right? Now, Obama's in office. It's his first term in 08, 09, right? And they're telling me that, look, the economy's already recovering. And I asked the question the whole time. I didn't have a radio show, but I used to ask people in general, where the hell are people recovering? I don't see anybody's wages going up. I see people's bills going up. Now, not as drastic as it's been in the past couple of years, but I didn't see economic recovery where all of a sudden there was a bit of a boom. I would tell you that, the last time I recall a good economy cooking pretty well, Bill Clinton was in office. Now, we come to find out that was pretty much like placing the whole economy on a credit card, and it's great when you're spending it, but it kind of sucks when you got to pay the bill. And that's what Clinton did to the country, it seems like to me. Also, people celebrated him for certain, middle of the line kind of things when it came to, workfare and the way that he was handling, deadbeat dads and stuff like that. Gotta tell you, if you're on the wrong end of that situation, you can be abused by the system that Bill Clinton encouraged be reformed. And I got abused by it for a decade. So over time, I got tempered with what I thought about Bill Clinton, but in real time when it was happening, Financial Times were doing pretty well. It was easier to succeed, to exceed, to go beyond your bare minimal needs, okay? But ever since then, and quite frankly, post-September 11th, I don't recall a great financial surge where things were just going really, really well. In general. Okay. But anyway, back to this thing about, and it wasn't all that bad while Bush was in there, although I objected to the foreign wars, but that's another subject. The domestic issues, it still sucked the whole time Obama was in there. And if I criticized stuff Obama was saying, doing, his policies, whatever, I got called a racist. It was like, no, you're racist. You just don't like him because he's black. And it's like, well, he's also half white. Do I hate him because he's half white? No, I don't hate him at all.
Yeah, that was the amazing thing about that whole time. Nobody would ever acknowledge that he was half white. That's the part that kills me.
No, I did. But
we couldn't even elect a whole black person to the position. He got elected because he was half white.
Look,
plain and simple.
But you know how much I don't care about that? Bottom line again, though. B Pete, do you recall all that time them telling us that there's this great recovery that's going on, but it's in slow mode? It's, the slow-moving recovery that was going on for like 6 of Obama's 8 years, pretty much? Or am I crazy?
Yeah, and there wasn't a recovery. When they talked about a recovery going on, what it meant was all those individuals that were involved in all that illegal activity that went on and crashed the housing market, which then turned around and crashed the whole financial sector, not only in the United States, but in a lot of places worldwide, there was a recovery. What it was is that all the big money banks got bailed out.
Right.
That was the recovery. And because they got bailed out, well, then there was money to spread around and money to give bonuses and money to give incentives to all these idiots that put the whole country in financial disaster.
Yeah.
That's the part that kills me about this.
But
and you had people like Mitt Romney, who, let me remind you, was a Democrat until he decided to run against Ted Kennedy in Massachusetts in 1994.
Really?
He thought Kennedy was vulnerable. Up until that time, Romney had been a Democrat. He voted for Paul Tsongas. He voted for Democrats from that area. So then he goes to Utah, becomes a carpetbagger after he works on the Olympics there, and that's how he gets into the Senate as a Republican. So, this whole time with Obama, you had the media. Okay, yes, we elected the first black president. I was in talks off the air with a guy that worked at one of the big local stations here in the state about those elections. And he asked me, he said, you called Obama's first election down to a nail. I mean, you pinned it. You knew exactly what was going on and you were dead right. What about his reelection? Okay. And who do we have for the reelection? Another rhino Republican.
Right.
And I told him, I said, he's going to win this state. Because it's all about the economy. What was it James Carville said back when Clinton was running? It's all about the economy, stupid. That's what we're seeing now. That's what we saw back under Obama's reelection. The economy, everybody was talking about, it's coming back slow. It's coming back slow. It never came back. I'm sorry. It helped out the rich and the elite, the 1%, but it didn't help out mom and pop down the street.
After stepping down from Bain Capital and his local leadership role in the LDS Church, Romney was the Republican nominee in the 1994 United States Senate race in Massachusetts. I'm reading from a description about his political career. After losing to 5-term incumbent Ted Kennedy, he resumed his position at Bain Capital. Years later, a successful stint as president and CEO of the then struggling Salt Lake Organizing Committee for the 2002 Winter Olympics led to a relaunch of his political career. Elected governor of Massachusetts in 2002, Romney helped develop and later signed a health care reform. Okay, that's the Romney Care thing and all that. All right. But he doesn't become a Republican until 94, right?
Right.
Okay. And he loses to Ted Kennedy. And then after that, his political career was on hold. He went back to his hedge fund.
And that throws... Yeah, and that throws a hole in, you remember when we had these political pundits out there going, say, big business, they support Republicans. Bullshit. They support whoever they think is going to legislate the way they want legislated.
Oh, that's correct.
There's been more money. You look at when he was with Bain. Bain Capital was one of the big, what was the movie with Michael Douglas? Wall Street?
Well, yeah, there was.
They were talking about buying companies and busting them apart and selling off the parts and getting rid of what was left. That's what.
It's an Oliver Stone movie, Wall Street. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At Bain. Yeah, these leveraged takeovers and things like that. That's what Romney was doing. You look at Bain Capital and the money that they were generating in the deals, and they were working with big companies like Monsanto, Corning. They were advising these companies on which way to go, how to invest their own monies, what to do to cut costs. He's an advisor, and he was really deep into it. A lot of that big money that people thought was, Republican backed. No, they were supporting the Democrats, whoever they thought was going to legislate the way they wanted to. And and I've always said, until we get that damn money out of politics, we're never going to have a recovery that's going to affect middle America.
Fair enough. So let's get to the callers now, and I see there's a couple of you on the line, so let's try and get to everybody. It looks like Jimmy James called back in, so let's see what he's got to add into this, and we'll check in with everybody else afterwards. 319-527-5016, all the way up to 10 p.m. Eastern, when the Age of Transitions begins. So I think I got Jimmy James back on, and I don't hear a crackling, Jimmy, so you're good. All right, what you got on your mind now?
Mitt Romney, that guy gets around. His dad was the governor of Michigan, and he grew up in Michigan, supposedly. That's why his name's Mitt, as in our state looks like a mitten.
All right.
2 mittens.
Fair enough.
And then, he's a rhino. I'm going to get that clip in particular of Bill Maher, that woman. Maybe that way we could just play it next week. I'll have the right part, because that show's like 50 minutes long.
Yeah, it's about an hour, right?
Might take forever to. Yeah, it might take forever to find it. I don't know.
No.
Well, I don't know, Jimmy. What specific topic? What exactly were they discussing in the clip? Mike can find it.
Yeah, because they do break it down into clips on his channel on YouTube fairly well. So if we knew exactly which clip you wanted.
They're so stupid they don't even realize what they said. Is a clip of Bill Maher and Katie Couric talking about how the system and the government and they're fighting Trump because they just said a bunch of things out loud that I already.
All right. Well,
I don't know how else to put it. They're talking about how Trump's against the system and the system's against Trump, as in the bureaucrats, the so-called government.
Okay. Well, you find the clip and send it to me, and I will play it next week, I guarantee you. So I'm going to put you on hold right now, and I'll probably come back around to you before we run out of time. I've got another caller on the line, so I'm going to go to them and remind you guys that the most interesting guy I ever saw flip back and forth political party-wise was Arlen Specter. You remember that, B Pete? Warren Commission Arlen Specter?
Oh,
yeah. Well, yeah. I always found him interesting because if we go again, I might as well just use the Wikipedia thing. Here we go.
Well, but, if you think about it, Trump, go ahead.
Well, he died in 2012, which is almost 10 years after I saw him in Pittsburgh, PA, when he went to the Cyril Weck conference for the 40th anniversary of the Kennedy assassination. Anyways, from his Wikipedia page, Arlen Specter, February 12, 1930 to October 14, 2012, was an American lawyer, author, and politician who served as a United States Senator from Pennsylvania, from 1981 to 2011. Specter was a Democrat from 1951 to 1965, then a Republican from 1965, during his, right after his Warren Commission days. He was Democrat through the Warren Commission days, but in 1965 became a Republican until 2009, when he switched back to the Democratic Party. First elected in 1980, he was the longest-serving senator from Pennsylvania, having represented the state for 30 years. So 5 terms is what we're talking about here. And he was born in Wichita, Kansas. I guess he would be a carpetbagger if Pennsylvania has such a thing. Anyways, just wanted to remind you about that guy, because that's who always comes to my mind when I think of people switching political parties. Arlen Specter, who did it later in life, early in life, everywhere. He was switching parties.
Trump did the same thing.
Oh, yeah, but see, Trump, I don't blame, because he was just going for whoever he could buy. And he said as much.
One of the biggest things that turned me off on Trump is his support for Hillary Clinton until he decided to run against her.
Well, of course, because they were for sale. Anybody was for sale. He didn't care if Satan was on the ticket, long as Satan would, take some money from him to do some of the things he wanted, just like any good businessman. This is a good businessman thing he did. I'm not saying he's a good businessman, but that's a smart thing to do if you're in big enough business. Buy the politicians you need. That's where organized crime and big business are the same thing. You buy the politicians you require. I mean, you might as well. They are for sale, after all. Anyway, let's go to a caller.
I mean, that's what kills me, though, is you get these two talking heads at each other, talking about, election deniers. Who's the biggest election denier that we've seen in the last 8 years? Hillary Clinton. And everybody gave her a platform to go out and deny the election. But yet they bring up MAGA individuals as being election deniers. That's really the worst that you could be. I have a feeling that you could be a racist pedophile and still get more respect from the Democrats than you would be an election denier on the side of Republicans. Yeah. That's what kills me about this. They are the most hypocritical group of people that have ever been elected to power in the world. Okay. Today's Democrats. I'm sorry, they're a plague on this earth.
If you say so. But the funny thing about Hillary Clinton is no matter how much the media, gives her a platform or whatever, nobody cares. She doesn't even have any real supporters, which is the funny part about it. And that's why.
Oh, she does. Yeah. Yes, she does.
Who?
If
real people?
Think they could get her in office today, she'd be running.
Real people. You think real people actually support her? I've never met one. Anyway.
Real Democrats do.
You know what? The people that I knew that were Democrats back then, nobody was enthusiastic about her. Nobody at all.
How did she get elected to New York Senate? How did she carpetbag and become a senator? Yeah. She has the support. Her problem is she ticked off too many people in the process. She stepped on them on her way to the top because she thought she was entitled. And so they set her down for a little bit, kind of pulled in on the choke chain. Well, but she has support. Believe it or not, there's enough demented people in the Democratic Party that they could put her in office depending on who she's running against. Look how Joe Biden got in. My God.
Well, I begged people to come on my show and talk about, her at all on the positive side, and I could get no one. Nobody wanted to even invest time. Nobody cared. Nobody, no real person I knew, even if they were a Democrat, even if they were going to vote for her, they were holding their nose. Nobody wanted to vote for her. So anyway, we do have another caller, which I have added, and I can't identify them. So anyway, you're on the air.
Hey, it's Danny from California, and I'm going to agree with both you and B Pete about Hillary. I'm on the left, and Hillary was a bad candidate. She was awful. She wasn't, she was awful. And, she couldn't win in 2008 against Obama. and that's when all the big money went to Obama.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it basically, she had to, use the DNC. They tipped the scales for in 2016. So she brought a lot of her problems on herself. And as far as this whole thing about rhinos, the last Clinton and Obama, I can make the case they were more Republican than they were actual, let's say, like a New Deal Democrat. And that changed after the Reagan, after the so-called. They governed.
No, I understand, but here's the thing: is that in today's vernacular, nobody wants to accept that kind of idea. Left and right have changed in definition in the past, I would say 15 years, very, very seriously. And I don't think anybody's got the muscle memory to recall what somebody on the actual left was like. I mean, the majority of what I see being represented as the left is not on the left. It's weird fringe stuff that gets identified as the left, but it's not legit. There's no coherence there. There used to be a coherent left, whether I agreed with it or not. And at one time I agreed with the libertarians before they got invaded, by this other entity that took it over. I was very much on the libertarian side of things, say in the 1990s. Okay. But that is unrecognizable from the party today. And I argue that any of these parties are unrecognizable.
The Democrat Party has had the fringe connected to it for the past 50 years. You've had every crackpot socialist, communist, Nazi attach themselves to the Democrat Party since before FDR was in there.
Well, look, realistically, though, the Klan, all right. There is a point in time where the Klan was literally occupied by Democrats, and then there's a point in time where the Klan was coming out and supporting the Republicans. There was a shift at a certain point. Your David Dukes of the world. Where was he trying to run? He wasn't trying to run as a Democrat. David Duke, and people like him. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that
that's only because the Democrats didn't want anything to do with David Duke, because all it did was bring back memories of everything the Democrats have done to try to keep black people down since before the Civil War.
Well,
they didn't want David Duke connected because they didn't want all that history up. It was up not until 10 years ago that you finally had high ups in the Democratic Party come out and apologize for Jim Crow and all the crap that they pulled after the Civil War. I mean, my God, the Democrats are nothing but a bunch of racist thugs with a bunch of outliers connected in the group, and they've been that way for half a century or more.
Mm. Well, and I can tell you that there are people that argue that even the liberal policies, the ones that are thought of to be progressive and everything else, are actually designed to subjugate and to sublimate the actual free will of the individuals that they claim to defend. There's lots of different ways to look at this.
Absolutely. Inside of every progressive is a totalitarian screaming to get out.
Well, it seems to me as though it's...
You could thank David Horowitz for that quote. The proof is out there.
Sure.
Look at what we've got in place now. Biden, as a Democrat, has now, they talk about, if Trump gets in, he's going to go after his enemy. If Trump gets in, it's going to be martial law. If Trump gets in, it's going to be a dictator. What the hell do you think we're living through right now with Biden in office deciding he's going to go and just wipe away people's debts? The Supreme Court says, no, you can't do it. It's not constitutional. And he basically says, screw you, I'm going to do it anyway. And then we wait for the courts to catch up with this madness that's going on in office right now. You want to talk about totalitarians? The Democratic Party is the worst for totalitarian actions in their history. Republicans can't even hold a candle to the totalitarian tactics of the left and the Democrat Party in the United States. Internment camps? Who thought those up? Democrats. Bull Connor, what was he? He was a Democrat. Jim Crow laws, Democrats. Voting rights manipulations in the South after Reconstruction, Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, they are a plague on this earth, and we need to eradicate them.
Okay, well, I know you feel passionately about it, and I hear you. What can I say? But currently, though, I don't think the nationalist forum, the stuff that is about purity and restoring things to its former default are on the Democratic side. It's just incoherent stuff, incoherent nonsense on the left, the way I see it. But other people tell me, no, they're well organized. I wish I could see that. I don't. The only thing I see being well organized.
Right after this next election.
Well,
you will see it after this next election. When Trump wins,
you think so? Okay.
You're going to see a major effort that they have been planning this whole time to deny him the ability to legislate anything. They did it in his first go-round. Now they're even more prepared, and they got more money to do it. You wait and see the lawsuits and the crap that is going to be thrown out there the minute that Trump is – they won't even wait for his inauguration. Wait till he's elected in November.
Well, how about
see the bull crap that's going to come out from the Democrats on this one. Get ready for it. It's going to be a doozy.
Okay, so how about we let Danny speak and say what he wants to say. I'm just going to let it be at that. Go ahead, Danny. Say what you want to say.
As far as the bull crap, I think it's an equal opportunity. I mean, both sides do it. That's just the reality. It's all to keep us distracted. Now, you're correct. At one time, the Democratic Party, especially in the South, they were definitely racist. But look what happened. What changed? They all moved over to the Republican Party. That's a fact.
No, they didn't. No, that is not a fact. No, that has been debunked. The only person you had. No, the Democrats did not switch sides and become Republicans. That's blatantly bull crap. The only one that you had to do it was Strom Thurmond. That Strom Thurmond was the only one that changed parties. All the rest of them, all the Dixiecrats, stayed in the Democratic Party and just kept spouting their bull crap. Bill Clinton's biggest mentor was William Fulbright, who was the biggest racist that this country's seen when you compare him on the list. And that was Clinton's mentor. There was no change. Parties didn't switch sides. Democrats didn't become Republicans. They voted for Nixon in that Nixon took the South with he played on the sympathies of those conservative Democrats, and he won. He found a strategy that would win in the South. Strong national defense, the working class people out there have not been represented by the Democrats, and he won. This whole story about switching parties has been debunked time and time again.
Okay. Anyway, Danny, you still there?
Well, I'm still here. I'm just telling you. I grew up in a conservative Republican household. Voted for Ronald Reagan twice. I saw this change. It changed. The whole entire South is now all in the Republican Party. Some things have not changed. Now, I'm not calling all Republicans racist. That's not fair because I know better than that. I grew up that way, and I was a true believer. But I've evolved through time, and certain things when it comes to foreign policy and economics, I moved to the left. Socially, I'm a radical moderate. My personal lifestyle is probably everyone would paint me as a conservative. But I think there's been magnitudes of shifts in both parties. I mean, the Democrat Party has moved to the right, and I think the Republican Party has moved even further to the right. But one thing they do serve is they serve the financial industry. One thing that has definitely benefited from this chaos of both parties is the wealthy have gotten wealthier and the middle classes and lower classes struggled for nearly 50 years.
See, there's something that I think we could all actually come to an agreement on, is that both parties have effectively become the servants of the upper class. I mean, that's all it's there for. It's not there to serve the lower class.
Absolutely.
And that's,
absolutely.
He who has the most money to play with wins, and that's the end of it. There was a reason why it wasn't just the Koch brothers. It wasn't just, this or that foundation that was able to run the PACs and all these other things that were going on here. The fact is that he who pays the most gets the most result, and that's what it is. It's all a giant pay to play, and it doesn't matter if they got a D or an R in front of their name. You're a Wall Street guy, you need to go talk to the Democrats. you're a certain other kind of big business guy, big oil, big tech. Well, actually, big tech, I'm not sure where big tech is landing at this point. They used to land with the Democrats. I think they've gone Republican.
They still land with the Democrats.
They still do? Okay. Well, I'm not sure about it, like I said. But, you take a look at the big business people, you see where they land, and you see exactly who legislates on their behalf. Okay. So that we can easily agree on. Now, another thing, B. Pete, is that you'd have to say that at one time, almost the entire South, regardless of what, was going on really in the real world, at one time, almost the entire South was Dixieland, Dixiecrat. It was Democratic, right? Nowadays, I would say not so much. You don't really have Democratic states down South anymore, do you? Or do you think that you still do? Or are there Democratic?
Well, it depends. You look at the state I'm in. It's already predicted that because of who the Republicans are running for governor, we're going to end up with another Democrat governor and a Republican House and Senate. It's the weirdest thing. They will vote Democrat on a state level in this state, left and right. But when it comes to a federal level, chances are Republicans are going to take the state. I know Trump's going to take it. I knew Obama was going to take it the first time around, but he wasn't the second because people were hurting economically. That recovery never happened. It never reached down to them. So, yeah, at one time, the South was solid Democrat.
Right.
You couldn't beat them. That's how they kept these state legislatures in place for over 100 years.
Right.
But the changes that came, you got to realize when the shift was supposed to happen. Look what was going on in the 60s and what the left was entailing. The left had to garner the support of the protest group. I mean, look at what they did at the Democrat convention in 68. It was nothing but riots going on out in the streets. Those were the fringe left that was out there fighting the Democrats for what was on their platform. So you had a lot of conservative Democrats in the South that thought, now we're about tired of this long-haired hippie crap working its way into our policy. And they started looking at the Republican platform, which was low taxes, small government, which the South was all for. I mean, you had some changes and that's how Nixon was so swift in pulling off a landslide, was he was able to capitalize on those things that conservative Democrats wanted to see but had left their own party. It became the party of the liberal protest back in the 60s. That's when you saw the changes happening.
Well, I'm going to...
But you still have a heavy Democrat presence here.
Well, okay, if you say so. I didn't, it seemed to me like not so much. It seemed to me like it's not like Georgia. Georgia from top to bottom is run by the Republicans. I say it again. I don't care.
Then how do you have two Democrat senators?
How did we get that? Because what they ran against them was so horrible and so corrupt.
Well, but that's beside the point. People will switch. You see, the people that elect people now are the independents. Your parties are about split even. It's the unaffiliated and the independent voter that makes the decision now. This state overwhelmingly voted for Barack Obama because he was a black candidate for president, and people thought he was slick, thought he looked good, thought he could, he had the message out there of hope and change. Well, we got a lot of change, but we're about running out of hope.
Yeah, well,
unfortunately,
you were abandoning all hope and begging for change.
Taken advantage of that, but there was no way he was going to win re-election in this state based on the economy. People vote their wallet in this state.
You were abandoning all hope and begging for change. But here's the problem. Look, at a certain point, there is a break point, okay? After a while, I mean, you could almost put a pile of dog crap with an R in front of its name on the ticket and it'll work. But at a certain point, they go, nah, this is just too big of a pile of dog crap. We got to at least go for the other. And that's what happens. I think, and eventually that's where you go. I mean, pretty much it's the anti-vote that sometimes gets things done. Danny, I'm going to put you on hold only because I got another caller and I want to get back around to everybody. So I've got a wireless caller here, unidentified, and you're live, and throw on the table whatever you want.
I would actually put more faith in a pile of dog crap than either side. But that's just me.
Well, pile of dog crap versus Joe Biden. Which one do you vote for?
The pile of dog crap, of course.
Okay, pile of dog crap versus Donald Trump. Which one do you vote for?
A pile of dog crap.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just taking the temperature here, and I sprung that question on you, so there you have it. Anyway, throw on the table whatever you want, and we'll go from there. We got about 18 minutes left. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know if I missed it, if it came up or not, but did Bobby Kennedy come up at all in the conversation earlier?
Not yet, so go ahead.
No, I was just going to take the temperature of everybody, what their thoughts on him, and because I haven't really been keeping up on, his various issues, I guess, that people have with him, and who he selected, I guess, as a running mate, I think.
Yeah, right. His running mate is a pretty well-known rich lawyer. And you know what? That's a fairly good question to try and pass around to everybody. So I'll put you on hold, come back around to you at the end. And let's see. B Pete, any commentary, anything you've been keeping track of regarding RFK Jr.? I know he's gotten on a couple of ballots. I get my Kennedy beacon several times a day, still complaining about how he's not getting Secret Service protection. Still, I call it I don't know who the hell he's trying to spoiler, but what are your thoughts on RFK Jr., Annie? And I'll ask everybody who's on the line hanging on, including Jimmy James. I'll start there after I get your comments.
That's a tough choice. I mean, if I think he's qualified for the ballot in our state, and I would seriously consider him. I'd have to listen to him on a couple policy things, but I would consider voting for him over Trump. Only because, I'm sorry, Trump is just like the Democrats. He's no different. He's just he's wearing a different jersey. That's all.
But still better than Biden.
Anything's better than Biden. My neighbor's cat is better than Biden.
So pile of dog crap versus Biden, you say pile of dog crap, yeah?
I'd have to write in my neighbor's cat.
Okay. Write in neighbor's cat. Gotcha. Or Felix the cat. Why not? Why not a cartoon? Anyway, how about Jimmy James? Let's see if he's got anything he wants to add about RFK Jr. Jimmy, how about RFK Jr.? Any comments?
Don't be bringing Felix into this.
Oh, I could have went with Felix.
He's a very wonderful cat.
I like Felix too much to put him into politics. But go ahead, Jimmy.
All right, amen. RFK is a goofball.
Okay.
Only him would think it was intelligent to, hey, I know, I'll run with a no-name Chinese lady. That'll resonate right now. No. But despite himself, I guess he is polling at 11%.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff about the South earlier, you know what? Nixon and Reagan won every damn state except for like one. So it's irrelevant. The only time the South played any big part would be for Bush Sr. and Jr.
Didn't
Jr. Was swept up into the war patriotism movement in the early aughts.
Fair enough.
But that's all I had to say.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I was just going to say, though, wasn't it Reagan versus Mondale? Mondale won, like, Minnesota only, and John Anderson got, like, 3% of the vote, right? Something like that?
Right. It was a blowout. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, like 48 or 49 of the states, plus the extra districts, I think all went to Reagan. Something like that.
Well, see, there you've got another carpetbagger. Reagan was a Democrat to run for president.
Well, he was a conservative in California, though. So before he ran for president.
Reagan switched parties in 1950. Come on, man.
There you go. I mean,
he had 30 years.
When he was California's governor, I think he was pretty conservative, wasn't he? Or am I misreading that?
Oh, he was very conservative. He had been since the 50s. Ever since he started working with General Electric, he kept studying and reading and got way more political and went the other direction.
Kind of went deeply anti-communist at one point, I think, too, right?
Well, yeah, his whole life. I mean, he's why there's no longer a Soviet Union. And Joe Biden, then a senator, in his usual way, voted against the Strategic Defense Initiative, which just, of course, for instance, saved Israel because, of course, this led to the advent of intercontinental ballistic missiles, Patriot missiles, so-called Iron Domes.
Mm-hmm.
So it just shows that Joe Biden's been wrong on every issue since the beginning of time. And yes, I would vote for poop or a cat over Biden.
There you go. Poop or a cat over Biden. So with that, Danny, let's see. I guess I'll start the other way. What are your thoughts about RFK Jr. first?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I think he was intriguing at first, and I just haven't heard really anything that's really impressed me, if that makes any sense.
No problem. The running mate. Any thoughts on the lackluster running mate?
She's a very wealthy tech person, came in from Google. I mean, I heard her speak. She's very intelligent. But again, like I'm going to make the case, the Democrat Party, just like the Republican Party, owned by the oil industry. The Democrat Party is owned by the tech industry. They had a proposition here where the tech industry kind of screwed over workers, but they pumped about $120 million into the proposition, and Gavin Newsom was all on board for it. So, I mean, it's we need to have parity in both the parties. I would agree with B Pete about getting some of the big money out of politics.
But I think that
makes sense.
Yeah, that would be helpful on all sides, Danny, I figure. So one last question for you, though, just because since you identify yourself as being on the left, how about this? Pile of dog crap versus Donald Trump. Which one do you vote for?
I'm going to plead the fifth.
Oh, he pleads the fifth. I like it. I like it a lot. You know what? A lot of my favorite people often plead the fifth, and I'm going to try and get back around to all callers. And I don't think I've ever said that out loud before. Anyway, there you go. So I put the RFK question to everybody, and I've gone. Yeah, go ahead. B Pete.
If we have time, question for everybody. What if Trump comes up and picks RFK Jr. as his running mate? Would you still vote for the pile of crap over Trump?
Well, nobody voted for the pile of crap over Trump. So far, pile of dog crap or a cat over Biden, according to Jimmy. Plead the fifth, according to Danny. And let's see. Pile of dog crap was selected over all politicians by this caller. So, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Except Bobby, I don't know what to think of him anymore. I was pretty pro Bobby in the beginning, but I don't know what to think now.
See, that's what happened to me. Is at first I was like, oh, great. You know, it'll be good to have an actual independent voice come into the fray. And then as I've examined things and taken a look at who he selected for his running mate and taking a look at some other things, policy-wise, some of the, very typical, he's going to step in line with the career politicians on certain things. I'm thinking that maybe not the best idea. I don't know what to think of him now. But I do believe that he's not going to have a viable chance. He may be on the ballot in some states, but you know what? I should look up because I get his campaign rhetoric delivered to me several times a day. But I don't know legitimately how many states he's on the ballot. I think I should look that up while we're talking here. So anyway, with that in mind,
wasn't Jesse Ventura's talking point about running for president was that he had to get ballot access in all 50 states and be allowed to in the debates? That was his two parameters. That was the two things that Jesse Ventura said would make it worth it for him to try. And at one time there was this idea thrown around, I forget who threw it around, that Ventura wanted Trump to be his vice president or vice versa. Trump wanted Ventura to be his vice president. I don't remember who posited that. Well,
go ahead.
Jesse had when he was governor of Minnesota, he had a press conference, which is still online, I believe. and he invited Trump up there because when Trump was doing the exploratory committee for 2000, I think.
Okay.
And they were going back and forth about who would be the other's VP and all that. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. See, I couldn't remember which way it went, but it might have been that it was tested both ways. Let's see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
His quest to be on the ballot in all 50 states, mid-April, Robert F. Kennedy was on the ballot, independent presidential candidate in Utah, Michigan. Those campaign says working to get him on the ballot in all 50 states. I'm trying to see exactly how many he's actually on. I think he has a very good chance. Short answer is I can't say. So far, I'm reading right here that, let's see, what is the date on this? As of April 20th, they're not sure how many states he's going to be on the ballot for. Let's see. Yeah. Campaign says it's completed signature gathering in 7 other states in addition to Utah and Michigan. Okay, so right now he's on the ballot in 9. Let's see. Super PAC supporting. Kenny Valley says it has collected enough signatures in 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there are 12. All right. According to the claims by the super PACs and his campaign, right now, he's on the ballot in 13 states, according to what I'm reading right here. But that's the combined efforts of his campaign and the super PACs, and 13 states is not going to be enough, even if he won all of them, to collect enough to win. You need, 270 electoral votes. In order to win, right? It's 270 is the minimum, isn't it, V. Pete?
Yeah, but you're just going to have to rely on a write-in campaign on the states that he's not on the ballot.
Yeah, but some states don't have the provision to allow you to write in, I think. I got to double check on that. I remember a few years ago, not every state gave you the ability to write in a candidate. Let me see if that's changed, though, because, a lot of stuff changed in the past few years, and I did not vote the past couple of presidential selections. So let's see. I'm looking things up, so I apologize. But anything else you want to add here, caller, before we get back around and run out of time?
No, just listen to the Naughty by Nature podcast by Nature Boy. It's a really good one.
Yeah, I was a guest on there recently. And actually was, I think, an interesting conversation. So,
it was a good one. Yeah, it was. It was good.
It was a little strange, though, because he asked me about, where things were going with Israel and the wider conflict. And quite frankly, we had spoken before this exchange between Iran and Israel. And I think I might have said something on there related to, I got a message from somebody like, you were talking about Iran on there. And I'm like, yeah, no, duh. But it's not like I predicted anything. I don't think I came up with anything great there. What I was saying is that it's a big, giant mess, and I feel like we're being misinformed about the whole thing. Like, take everything with giant grains of salt is all I said. Because the MSM is reporting things all different directions, and you have certain other, let's just call them concerns in other parts of the world, not in the English-speaking world primarily, that are reporting on really some horrific stuff happening over there that's not even making it to our headlines in the Western press. So I'm telling you, you're not getting, you're not getting the full story, obviously, from the corporate media, and we talked about it last night with Mike Swanson, why you might not be getting it, but, just a reading of the headlines and all, you don't have a good handle on really what's happening regarding this circumstance. We'll find out about it afterwards. We're going to get after action as far as what the real damage was done, the real body counts, the actual, reckoning that is taking place upon certain populations. You're not going to know about it until after the fact, by a long shot. And, so that was my only assertion on there. No big prediction about Iran. I don't care what anybody says. I didn't have any massive prediction in my head about it. But I knew that it would come into play because it's been on the, on the vision board for the powers that be for a long time. Iran has been included. The axis of evil. Who is it that we got to worry about? Iran. I mean, my whole life. When I was a little kid, the hostage crisis started, right? You know, I mean, this has been one of those things where they've been the juicy target for a long time, the desired target for a long time. So Iran getting involved in it, yeah, I can see this escalating and spreading out, and I hope it doesn't. But that was all I was saying on there, is that I'd rather not see, you know, greater conflict and war spreading, you know, any further than it has to, or even continuing in the region where it is. No, I'm not somebody who's for the idea of conflict, combat. And, you know, the only thing that is definitively true in all of these occasions is that I promise you, no matter what goes on, no matter how righteous or evil the action is, whenever this kind of thing happens, you are guaranteed that innocent bystanders, innocent people who did not ask to be invited into the conflict are going to die. That's a promise, either from directly being shot, burned, bombed, whatever, or as a result of the damage done from warfare. So sorry, I'm not a pro-war guy. I can't get into it because I know that no matter what, masses of innocent people are going to die. It's a promise. People that in no way wanted any part of the conflict will die. That is a guarantee. That's the only thing I said on there that was definitive. So anyway, yeah, the Naughty by Nature podcast, it's on the new Prisoners 24/7. I think they're replaying it there. He might even sent it over to Free World FM for replay. Do you know how to find Free World FM online, caller?
Yeah, I have 3 shows on there currently.
Okay, fair enough. But tell people how to find it online, because I don't know the web address off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. Sorry. No, it's freeworld.fm, and it should take you to the homepage. And, yeah, they have a chat and everything in there.
Right,
yeah.
And that's audio mainly, right?
It's only audio for the time being, yeah.
Okay, so only audio, Free World FM, and Naughty by Nature replays over there. And that's Nature Boy, you know, the guy whose voice you still hear on Ochelli.com. And, yeah. So anyway, I appreciate that. And how many minutes do we have left here, B Pete? We got, oh, crap, we're almost out of time. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up the lines and tell everybody who is on here that I appreciate all of you for calling in, and more than happy to have had you join us. And coming up next, right here at 10 p.m. Eastern, is going to be The Age of Transitions with Aaron Franz, live on Ochelli.com radio. And B. Pete, normally I would turn it over to you and give you the last word, but this time I'm just going to take it. But I appreciate you for co-hosting this with me. Another week, we got it done, like he always says, and I'll even throw in, go and support your local food banks and take care of each other, because guess what? If you're waiting for the government to save you, you are in a sad position, and if you're waiting for others to come and save you outside of yourselves, the community you build around you, you're also in a sad position. We need to take care of each other, because nobody else is going to do it for